Welcome. Today we're going to tell you some stories. Some really unsettling stories. These aren't just campfire tales, they're supposedly true accounts. Shared by people who went out into the wilderness, maybe for a hunt, expecting solitude, and found something else entirely. Something much, much scarier than any animal. These particular accounts come from a collection shared over on the YouTube channel Mr. Nightmare, which specializes in these kinds of chilling, reportedly true experiences. Think about it. When people go hunting, they often seek out isolation, deep woods, far from anyone else. That silence, that solitude. It seems perfect for connecting with nature, right? But it's also the perfect stage for horror, the stories. They'll show you exactly what can go wrong when you're truly alone out there.
It's true. There's a kind of primal fear the wilderness can evoke anyway. But when the expected threats, the animals, the elements, when they're replaced by something human, something unknown, that's a whole different level of terror. It hits differently.
Absolutely. That vulnerability. It's palpable in this first story. It was admitted by a Robert Cherneman, and it happened up in upstate New York. Robert had this tradition, hunting, and he was taking his son, Peter, who was 10 years old at the time, his first hunt. They had rifles, Remington 798s, sniper rifles actually, but Robert was carrying Peter's, just trying to keep it simple for the kid's first time, and they decided against using the deer hunting tower they usually used. Just found a spot and settled in. Well, after waiting a long time, Peter naturally started getting bored. You know how kids are. So Robert figured, okay, let's move, keep him interested. Peter got excited about that. But literally, as soon as they stood up to walk, they heard footsteps. Robert's instinct just kicked in. He put his arm out in front of Peter, signaled him silently to raise his gun. Peter did, probably feeling a bit of that hunter's thrill. But then Robert saw him, a man's head, just peering out from behind a tree way off in the distance. Robert immediately pushed Peter's gun down. He felt, well, relief mixed with disappointment, maybe. He gave a little wave, kind of apologetic, and the man ducked back behind the tree.
Gone. But Robert felt uneasy. Straight away, seeing anyone that deep in the woods was really rare, and something about the guy, even far off. Robert said his face looked off-putting, didn't look like a hunter. So, just to be safe, Robert led Peter the other way. Peter asked, "Who was that?" Robert was honest. "I don't know, son, but we shouldn't get any closer."
That first sighting, right there, someone who just doesn't belong in that remote setting, it instantly changed the whole feel, doesn't it? That quiet unease starts creeping in.
Exactly. And it didn't go away. A few minutes later, they stopped for a snack. Peter was hungry. Robert, too. Robert's eating a sandwich. He hears footsteps again. In the distance, but clear. Peter heard them, too. Picked up his rifle right away, pointing towards the sound. And Robert's heart just sank. Same man. Peering from behind another tree. Again, as Robert lowered Peter's gun. Now they both felt it. A real creeping dread. Robert had this impulse, right? Told Peter to wait, started walking towards the man to, confront him. But he only got halfway before he stopped. That protective instinct just slammed into him. "What do I do? My son's right there, exposed." He rushed back to Peter, said, "Okay, time to go, now." Not running, but walking fast, back towards the road. Robert said he was just bracing himself, waiting for a sound from behind them. And then, twig snaps. Loudly. Robert nudged Peter forward. "Go, go." And he just spun around, angry now, scared, and stormed back toward the sound. And there he was again. Same guy, peering from behind a tree. Robert got maybe 30 feet away. The man moved back behind the tree, out of sight. Then Robert heard this thud, like something heavy hitting the ground. Robert had his gun ready, loaded. He crept towards the tree, very cautiously, didn't say anything. He gets right up to the tree, peers around it. And he said it was like the whole world just stopped. All he saw, his words, the head laying face first on the ground in front of me, nobody, just head.
Oh my God.
He didn't look up, didn't look around to see who dropped it. He just turned and sprinted. Back at Peter, yelling, "Run! Run!" They made it home, maybe 5 minutes later. Safe. Robert made sure they weren't followed. He stayed up all night, watching the house, protecting his family. The very next day, his wife mentions hearing about 2 local hunters who'd gone missing. That's when Robert called the police, told them everything. He kept Peter away from hunting for a good few months after that. He's still haunted by it, apparently. How could someone do that? Killed 2 armed hunters. He did eventually start hunting with his son again, though.
That is deeply chilling. The sheer horror of finding something so gruesome, so inexplicable where you expect peace, and psychological blow, knowing there's someone out there capable of that, overpowering armed men. It just undermines every sense of safety you thought you had in that environment.
Yeah, it really does. Robert's story, it's about that lone, terrifying encounter. But what if the threat isn't just one person? What if it's more? And they breach your camp, your supposed safe zone. That takes us to our second story. This one's from Nathan Zielinski. It's kind of a mix, camping and hunting. It was Nathan's first time hunting. Nathan was 21. He went with friends Anthony, Christian, Tom, and Tomas' girlfriend, Diana. They were going elk hunting in a Colorado park. Packed everything, 2 big tents, sleeping bags, food, drinks for a couple of days, and guns, of course. Nathan admits right off the bat he wasn't really comfortable with hunting. The idea of killing an animal for fun just felt wrong to him. But Anthony kept asking, so he felt like he had to go. He decided beforehand, though, he wouldn't actually shoot anything. Anyway, they set up camp. Anthony's all excited, talking about hunting techniques. Nathan thought about making a joke, like maybe just scare the animals away. But Anthony was so intense about it, Nathan just kept quiet. So while they're out hunting later, they had this really unsettling run-in. They crossed paths with 3 men. Nathan described them as rather large, dirty, with long, sticky hair. Said they looked like they belonged to some inbreeding house deep in the woods.
Wow. Okay.
The men just sort of looked at them, nodded as they walked past one by one. The whole group was immediately freaked out. I mean, you're deep in the woods, miles from your car. These guys just seemed creepy and potentially dangerous, but thankfully, they didn't follow them. Or so they thought. Later on, Anthony actually shot a deer. They couldn't find any elk. They dragged it back to camp, gutted it, skinned it. Nathan said it was a disgusting, bloody process. He couldn't watch much. Anthony even made venison burgers. Nathan admitted, despite his feelings about hunting, he was impressed. Anthony brought guns and everything. They ate, and pretty much went to sleep right after dark. Campfire still going outside. Nathan, though, couldn't sleep. He was tossing and turning in his sleeping bag for like 2 hours. Said he always had trouble sleeping in those things. Anthony and Christian, out like lights. Nathan's just about to get up to go pee outside the tent when he hears footsteps. Outside their tent, he almost called out Tom or Diana's name, but then stopped himself. What if it wasn't them? He just lay there, dead silent, listening. Then zip, tent zipper goes down. Nathan instantly turned his head, pretended to be asleep. There was a pause, then zip, back up again. He waited, heard the footsteps move away, towards Tom and Diana's tent. Nathan's first thought was, oh, it must be them, checking it for a sleep so they could, have some private time. So he thinks, okay, I'll sneak over and scare them. Waits about 5 minutes, unzips his tent quietly, and starts creeping over. But as he gets closer, he sees their tent zipper. It's still undone. That struck him as odd. He creeps right up, ready to jump out or whatever, but looks inside. And it wasn't Tom and Diana. He saw 2 men inside of the tent doing something to Diana.
Oh no.
Maceman just screamed as loud as he possibly could, pure terror, but also trying to wake everyone. Anthony and Christian burst out of their tent, rifles ready. The 2 men inside scrambled out and fled. And Nathan realized with horror, they were 2 of the same men they'd seen earlier that day. Tom and Anthony fired shots in their direction, just trying to scare them off. But something even worse happened. After the shots, they all looked around, hearts pounding, and men started appearing in almost all directions. They'd been hiding in bushes, behind trees,
Yeah.
and then they all just took off, scattering.
Surrounded. Completely surrounded.
Yeah. They tried to wake Tom and Diana, but couldn't. It seemed like they'd been drugged, maybe injected with tranquilizers. They had no choice but to wait. It took about half an hour for Tom and Diana to come around. Nathan said the run back to the car through the pitch-black forest was one of the most terrifying experiences of his entire life. And they still have no idea who those people were. Part of some secluded inbreeding house, for all we knew, Nathan wrote, or even some kind of cannibalistic family. Just pure speculation. They were just incredibly relieved they all made it out alive.
That story just hits on a fundamental fear, doesn't it? The invasion of your safe space. A tent, a campsite. It feels like your little bubble of security in the wild to have that breach and then realize you're actually surrounded, ambushed. It's not just fear of harm, it's the complete loss of perceived control in a remote place. Utterly terrifying.
Yeah, the violation of that perceived safety is chilling. So we've had the lone hunter facing the inexplicable. The group ambushed in their camp. This final story takes another twist. It's about when the hunter suddenly, terrifyingly, becomes the hunted. This one was shared by someone calling himself Jared the Sprinter. Jared describes himself as a hardcore hunter. This happened during a night hunt. He was out hunting hogs at night in the woods right near his backyard. He was up on a hunting tower he built himself years ago, about a decade prior. And he was kitted out, night vision scope attachment on his rifle, giving him the advantage in the dark. So he's waiting, patiently scanning. Then movement. He gets ready, takes aim through the scope. It's not a hog. Not any animal he recognized. It was a person, a man, dressed head to toe in black. Black sweatpants, black shoes, black hoodie, hood up. And the creepiest part, he was dragging a sack. A large sack. Jared's heart just started hammering. His immediate thought, I'm watching someone trying to bury a body. He kept watching, frozen. The man slowed down. Stopped. And Jared swears it looked like the man turned his head and looked up, right towards the tower. In the dark, Jared just ducked. Instantly.
down behind the wooden walls of the tower shaking. He had his gun, yeah, but the thought of actually shooting a person was horrifying. He just stayed low, hoping, praying the guy hadn't actually seen him. It didn't seem possible in the pitch black light.
That moment, being potentially seen by the person you're observing, especially when they might be involved in something sinister, it flips the script completely. Suddenly, you're not the observer anymore. You might be the target.
Totally. And seconds stretched out. Jared's waiting to hear footsteps moving away, but nothing. Instead, he hears a foot hit wood. One of the planks on the ladder leading up to his tower. Then he felt it. The whole tower vibrated as someone took 2 more steps up the ladder. Coming up, Jared said he was frantically asking himself, can I shoot him? Can I actually do it? But then whoever it was stopped climbing, jumped back down to the ground, and started dragging the sack away again. Jared said he stayed absolutely still like a statue for at least 10 minutes after the sounds faded. Didn't dare move. Finally, he slowly peeked over the edge. Nothing. Looked clear. He knew he had to get back to his house, call the police. Fast. So he scrambled over the side, down the ladder. Then he did something he later called stupid. He turned on his pocket flashlight, and he ran. Towards his house. He only got maybe 10 seconds into his sprint when he heard it. Behind him. Rapid, manic footsteps crunching the leaves. Coming up fast. He risked a glance over his shoulder. The man was right there, inches away from his face. Jared just spun around, reacted purely on instinct, and shot him. Hit him in the shoulder. The man screamed, this horrible sound of agony, and stumbled. That gave Jared the chance he needed. He finished his sprint home. He said later maybe he should have tried to hold the guy hostage or something, but in the moment, survival took over. Anyway, he got inside, locked the door, called the police. They were there fast, within 15 minutes, with a full search team. Jared led them back out, into the woods, right to where he'd shot the man. They found the blood trail easily enough. It led past the body bag which the police collected as evidence, and straight to the guy. He was hiding under a log near a tree. Injured, but alive, he was arrested. Turned out he was wanted for the murder of Gwen Sakanaki, a local corner store owner who was Japanese. The body in the bag was hers. Jared finishes by saying he'll never ever forget that night, the story he'll be telling for the rest of his life.
That is an absolutely terrifying culmination, isn't it? The hunter, secure in his advantage, suddenly forced into a direct, violent confrontation for his own life. It's that stark reversal from watching a potential crime unfold to becoming the target, having to make that split-second life or death decision. It's the ultimate nightmare scenario for someone in that situation.
Yeah, it really is. Looking back at these 3 stories, there's this clear, disturbing thread, isn't there? It's the horror of finding not just wildness in the wilderness, but human malice.
Yeah.
Or something just inexplicably terrifying where you least expect it. Places people go for peace, for sport. It shows how that very solitude, the thing hunters often seek, can just instantly amplify fear when something truly wrong emerges from the darkness. Suddenly it's not the bear you're worried about, it's something else. Something human, maybe. Or maybe not.
Exactly. These accounts, they really challenge our basic assumptions about safety, about control, especially in nature. They force us to confront the idea that sometimes the most dangerous things out there aren't the wild animals, but the darkness that can come from people, or from things we just don't understand. It leaves you wondering, what's scarier? The act itself, or that sudden, awful realization of just how vulnerable you really are, even when you think you're prepared.
A chilling thought to end on. Thank you for joining us today as we shared these unsettling accounts. Remember, the wilderness holds immense beauty, but also, sometimes, secrets and unimaginable horrors. Until next time, stay curious, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit cautious out there. If these stories gripped you, please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs. We'll have more chilling accounts for you. Take care, and stay safe.